Hey, Glovelies, and welcome back to Glove. Actually, I'm Courtney.
And I'm Melissa.
And unfortunately, Hallie is at her Real People job, so she is not able to be here with us this week. But this week, we have lots to talk about. Later, we will be joined by our new bestie, Aidan, who you might know better as the founder of the Painting Corners podcast. And this week, we're going to talk about everything that's happened in this very busy offseason so far, because there are still a few weeks until all of the MLB Pookies start reporting. But as always, if there's anything you want us to talk about here on the podcast, be sure to leave it in the comments and be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to the Glove Actually podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Podcasts. And be sure to turn on post notifications to stay in the loop when we post new episodes every Wednesday. All right, Glovelies, let's kick things off as always with our Pookies of the week. Melissa, who is your Pookie of the week this week?
My Pookie this week is Heston Kjerstad of the Baltimore Orioles. I know
I love Heston Kjerstad. They will never make me hate you, baby.
I know. I love Kjerstad. He plays outfield for the Orioles. He had a rough 2025 season. His performance took a little bit of a dive, and then he was sent back to AAA Norfolk. And then while he was there, he had some health complications. The Orioles have been very quiet about what's happening with Kjerstad in 2026, but I was looking at the roster the other day, and Kjerstad is on the roster. So
he's still there.
Yeah, he's there. So I am hoping that is a good sign and that we will see him in 2026, because I would love to see him back out there on the field and cruising at his full potential. So
I love you, Heston Kjerstad, and I will go on record saying that every day of the year. And hopefully we'll see you in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So this week, since we are focusing more so on what's happened in the off season, I wanted to take a moment to shout out someone who is clearly having fun at home with his hobbies. So my Pookie this week is Atlanta Braves second baseman Ozzie Albies.
I'm very proud of you. You're calling out a Brave.
Yes, I was going to say I can reasonably deduce why he was not on my radar, but I came across a video of him on Instagram where he was doing some repair work on one of like 3 or 4 different giant aquariums that he has in his home. And he actually he got into the tank and was repairing like one of the lines. He was sitting on top of the tank and he like dunked his feet in, and then the fish were like nipping at his feet and he was like, ugh. And I was like, oh, he's me. He's me when I'm swimming in the ocean and a fish touches my foot. I'm just like, ah! I think it's so fun that he has like a whole separate Instagram account just for his fish. Mm-hmm. He has all different kinds of fish. He has koi. He got 1,000 hits last season, and to celebrate, he got a koi for his aquarium. Some people get cars. Some people get like watches or like a chain. Ozzie Albies gets fish.
All right. Good for him. They look like they're all freshwater fish too. Do you have the saltwater tanks?
I don't know. As far as I know, I think he just has the freshwater tanks, but we'll have to look more into this.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah. Ozzie Albies, please comment and let us know. But yeah, I've had a few other podcasts that have had me on as a guest over the off season. And the number one question that I get asked when I go on another podcast is, what is a Pookie and what makes someone Pookie worthy? And I think this is a great example of something it is demonstrating Pookie behavior. So you have my attention, Ozzie Albies, and you are my Pookie of the week this week.
Yay. We'll be paying attention to you in the regular season.
Yes, for sure. Even me, a certified Braves hater, will be paying attention.
I know, right? Impressive.
I know. All right, Glovelies, we want to hear from you. Who is your Pookie of the week this week? Be sure to let us know in the comments, and be sure to tag your Pookie if you can. All right, Glovelies, moving right along. We are joined today by our new bestie, Aidan, founder of the Painting Corners podcast. Welcome to the show, Aidan. We are so happy to have you here.
Yay.
Thank you for having me today in the glorious 2026.
This is one of the first things that we're getting to do, and I'm so happy that we're able to collab. We've been talking about this for a couple of months, so it's about time.
Yes, it is for sure, and I appreciate it. And we'll have to have you guys on the Painting Corners baseball podcast as well.
Absolutely, we would love to. So I would love to talk a little bit about your podcast, as well as all of the different free agency moves and the trades we've seen go down since the World Series, and then we're going to give you a rapid fire quiz so that the Glovelies can get to know you a little bit better, and then we're going to get your takes on our top 5 of this week. Does that sound good?
Let's do it.
Fantastic. All right. So first question, who is your Pookie of the week this week?
You know, I was thinking about this, and I was prepared to say Julio Rodriguez in a vacuum. You know, he's got the no-fly zone. He's got the green hue in the eyes, right? But ultimately, I'm going to go with Tatsuya Amai. Because when he had that interview with Daisuke Matsuzaka, who is near and dear to my heart, he said that he would prefer to take down the Dodgers. And he wants to survive on his own. So I respect the mindset. And, you know, I have nothing against the Dodgers necessarily, but I love Amai's mindset coming here to the States and wanting to carve his own path, the road less traveled.
Of course, yeah. I think a lot of the players that are coming from Japan, I think it's a big adjustment to the way that the Americans tend to play. Right. So I'm definitely excited to see where all of the new guys that are coming over are going to end up. And I'll talk a little bit later about some of the other free agent moves that we've seen, which is going to involve another player that we just got over from Japan. So that'll be really exciting. So let's talk a little bit about you. So what got you interested in baseball? And also, who is your main team that you like to support?
Yeah, so the way that I like to explain it, there is a duality to it because I grew up in Vermont and I've always been a Red Sox fan. And so that being said, I live in Seattle now, right? And so I root for the Mariners because I'm here. But my childhood memories are the 2004 World Series, you know, Red Sox down 3-0, Dave Roberts stolen base. You know, that's ingrained into my memory. I don't think I'll ever be able to forget that. So that was a magical experience, and I would have been, 9 years old at the time.
So was baseball something that you always kind of paid attention to growing up? Were you a baseball player?
I did play. I mean, I wouldn't say that I was exceptional by any stretch, but yeah, I did play baseball. I've always had an inclination toward analytics and so forth. And so I think that baseball found me and I found baseball. But I think by me playing it, I certainly found my foray into following Major League Baseball. And I fell in love more with following the MLB than I did playing it myself, probably.
Gotcha. Very cool. So from the perspective of a fan, not necessarily someone who's looking at the MLB as a whole, someone who's a little bit more focused on the Mariners, which players are you excited to see what they'll do this season? Or are you a Cal Raleigh person? How do we feel about Cal Raleigh?
Yeah, I mean, I wrote an article actually evangelizing the notion that he should have won the AL MVP. So I'm going to stick to that narrative. I do believe that he should have. You know, I think Julio could be an MVP level player. We haven't quite gotten there, but I do think he has that in him. So I'm curious to see if he can get there. And then from a pitching standpoint, someone that I really want to see break out would be Brian Wu.
I love Brian Wu.
Loves Brian Wu.
I do. He's my favorite.
Who doesn't, right? Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I was really hoping you would say Brian Wu, just for the record. Also for the record, I'm legitimately, I'm going to put this on the internet. I also think Cal Raleigh should have won AL MVP.
Yeah, I agree.
So you are not alone.
I have a very serious
100%.
question. When you went to games, did you happen to see anybody get dumped by Big Dumper on the screen? I'm very curious about that.
Oh, yeah, they do it every game.
I love
All the time.
that. Every game. And you
Yeah,
got to
all the
see it.
time.
Too cool.
So kind of a little bit more on the side of what you do, what inspired you to start your podcast?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think that I had been deliberating on, baseball, what's going on in the league and things like that, and bouncing stories and so forth off of my wife. And then eventually she said, you should just start to write some of this down. That's how Painting Corner started. The podcast was born out of the writing, actually, because I wanted to start to make things a little more three-dimensional,
Okay. Yeah.
Writing has a great value to it, but as you guys believe in, by evidence of you having the pod brings something, it brings the personality out in a way that writing doesn't always capture.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I feel like it's a lot more expressive. I feel like you can only really express so much. It's like via text versus over the phone or over FaceTime.
Yeah.
You know, a lot more of the tone comes across, and I feel like you get that more emotional depth to it. So that's amazing. I can't wait for us to keep collaborating more and for us to get into the corners over there, if you will.
Let's go. Yeah.
So in terms of what you have going on with the podcast, what you have going on with your writing and your media coverage, what else are you hoping to accomplish this year? What do you kind of have like on your vision board for 2026?
Yeah, so this is more on the writing side, but I would like to expand our writing network even more. So as you've seen, we just launched our first fan written article by Baseball Nerd earlier this week, and we're going to continue to expand that program. And then eventually maybe even bring podcasts into the network because, you know, I view Painting Corners as eventually being, you know, baseball media network rather than just one podcast.
Of course.
So that's my vision, is just getting more people involved.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously the growth is important to any goal that you have. And you want to see anything that you kind of nurture yourself, you want to see grow. So that's totally understandable. So getting into a little bit more of the off-season stuff. So kind of expanding on this topic a little bit more, we do have a lot of free agents that are still out there and still not signed. I want your opinion as to where you think these people might be a good fit, if you think that they should stay where they are, or if you think that there's another team that could make use out of them and you think that they would fit in with that kind of culture. Someone I definitely want to mention is our baby Ramon Urias. Yes, he was traded at the deadline from the Orioles to the Astros. He's still in free agency right now. So I really don't know where he's going to end up. And his brother is also in free agency.
Yeah, they're both playing for Team Mexico in the WBC, right?
Yes, I did just see that. So personally, I think a good landing spot, if he doesn't end up re-signed with Houston, I think the Tampa Bay Rays could really use him. Brandon Lau going to the Pirates leaves a huge hole in the infield. Urias has won a Gold Glove. He played third base a lot for the Orioles, but he is a second baseman. Caminero has third base cornered for Tampa. So I think Urias could go back to second base easily. Since Houston just spent all that money on Imai, I think that they're probably going to be a little bit conservative at the rest of their spending for the offseason. So I don't think he's going to be incredibly expensive to get. Do I think he would be incredibly valuable? Yes. And I think that that's where Tampa could stand to take a chance.
And you just happen to see more Orioles at Tampa.
And I would just happen to see Brian Baker and Cedric Mullins and Ramon Urias when I'm going to all my Rays games in Florida. I definitely wouldn't complain about that. So
who's drafting the Orioles to B2 now? I think that's you.
It's just me. It's me moving all of them to Tampa Bay so I can go and see them.
Well, you also have Shane Boz in Baltimore now, right?
Yeah, that was a huge surprise.
Let me throw something out there for you. What if you traded for Freddie Peralta?
I wouldn't hate that.
Trade
it. I mean, Freddie's got 1 year left. He's going to cost you $8 million in a walk year, so he's motivated.
You know who I wasn't expecting to see back on our roster? Zach Eflin.
That was a surprise. Yeah. That was a surprise.
Things have been tough for Zach recently.
Yeah, they really have. And he had like a really unfortunate end to last season. But, you know, everything kind of comes in peaks and valleys for the Orioles. So I think anybody who had a dip last year, they're on the up and up.
Have a good year this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that should be about half the team. So.
Yeah.
When you consider all the injuries we had.
If Cedric Mullins doesn't have a good season this year, I'm going to crash out.
I'll cry.
Poor Cedric.
I'll cry.
Oh my God. He had to like go and get used to New York City and the subway system for like 2 months. And then they were like,
for nothing. Yeah.
Moving on, as far as the outfield is concerned, another big free agent candidate is Harrison Bader, also coming from the Phillies. I love Harrison Bader. So, but everyone who listens to the podcast should know that my first love as far as baseball players are concerned is Ryan O'Hearn. So I would love to see Harrison Bader go to Pittsburgh. because I think the combination of him, O'Neal Cruz in center, and Andrew McCutcheon in right field, that seems pretty unstoppable to me. I don't know. Is it sacrilegious if I want him to go from Philly to Pittsburgh? I don't know.
Would you put O'Neal Cruz in center field over Bader?
Yeah.
You would?
Yeah.
So I think I think you want O'Neal Cruz to get the reps in center center field, but I think next year Bader is probably better in center than O'Neal Cruz.
Okay.
So I think it depends on your perspective. Like, I think if you give Cruz a whole year in center, obviously he'll be better in 2027.
I just think the three of them, honestly, you could kind of shuffle them around a little bit. And if you have the three of them and you have outfitters who are flexible enough to switch to different positions, I think that just makes a more dynamic outfield. That's just me personally.
I like where you're going with this because I don't think Mangum is a full-time everyday player. I think he's a fourth outfielder. And right now he's slated as their everyday left fielder. And then you also have the password, the Red Sox prospect there that they acquired. It's getting a little crowded there.
I mean, a little bit, but I think that Jake, would be sort of like your fill-in guy when someone needs a day off.
100%.
That's just me.
Yep.
I don't know. The rumor that I've heard most often is that he's currently being courted by Detroit.
That's what I've heard too.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So
I can see that.
I guess we'll see. This is all conjecture at this point. And I'm just being greedy now because I have to be a Pittsburgh fan this season.
Yeah, that's fair. Like, if you don't have to watch, like, I'm good.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Give Paul Skeens some run support, please.
Yes.
Let's go.
Yeah.
All right. The other pitcher that I am surprised is still out there is Zach Gallen.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I would love to see someone like Cleveland scoop him. I think they have some money to spend. I think they can make a pretty aggressive move, and they had a really late pop last year. So I think that they would be able to use that momentum moving forward. And I think with someone like Gallen on the pitching staff, it would definitely give them more depth. He had kind of a down year in 2025 with Arizona, but I think he might be on the upswing in 2026. I like to believe that anyone who had kind of a down year in 2025 is going to have an up year in 2026. I think the offseason after you have a down year is going to provide so much opportunity for you to kind of review what didn't work and make some changes. So I really like to think that anyone who cares about the game is going to put in that work.
I like the Gallen Cleveland fit. I think I'll back you up on that one. I like that. I wasn't initially thinking Cleveland necessarily, but I wasn't entirely committed to one club because Gallen is this avatar of, durable, 180 innings, can pitch anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
He's not really a 5 and dive. Like, he can go 6 or 7 innings as long as the pitch count isn't too out of control. And I know that last year was a bad year, but he's relatively consistent from a performance standpoint. And if you look at his second half stats, he was actually pretty solid. It was really the first half where he was so rough that Mike Hazen decided to go for the comp pick instead of the trade because you just weren't going to get much for him, I think.
All right. Well, obviously, we've got a lot to look forward to. I am looking forward to seeing in the next couple of weeks if any of the stuff that we just talked about is going to stay valid. So who knows? Because it's always a couple weeks of turnaround between when we record and when we post. So
something's going to happen tomorrow. You watch. One of these things we just talked about will happen tomorrow.
Shit's going to go somewhere tomorrow, and then all of this is going to be null and void. Okay, so Aidan, now that we've kind of gotten some of that out of the way, I would love the Glovelies to have a chance to get to know you a little bit better. Is it okay if Melissa gives you a rapid fire quiz?
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, go ahead, Melissa.
All right, let's do it. Favorite sport?
What podcast are we on? No, baseball.
Okay. That was the trick question. All right, favorite sports team?
Yeah, right now I'd say Mariners, like I gave you the background on.
Yes. All right. Favorite current active athlete?
Oh, that's so tough.
It's like picking a favorite child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it'd probably be different answer if you asked me like a month from now, but for now I'll say Tarek Skubal. I love change-up guys.
All right. How about favorite athlete of all time?
That one is concrete for me. Manny Ramirez.
Okay. He's got that figured out. Favorite movie?
Ooh, I mean, I will say that in my off baseball time, I am a little bit of a history nerd. So recently, I watched the '92 movie that they did on Columbus. I thought that was a pretty good movie.
Okay, I like it. I too am a fan of the history movies. All right, favorite ballpark snack.
Cracker Jacks for sure.
Okay, it's a popular one lately. If you played baseball, what would your walk-up song be?
Maybe Gangster's Paradise, you know? I don't know any of
Oh
the
my
words.
God!
Yeah, it's a great
I
song.
think the very intro of that song, that would be so tough.
Yeah.
Walking up to bat. Oh my God.
Oh
Yes,
yeah,
it would.
for sure.
All right, favorite sports memory.
Yeah, I have a couple, but I'd probably go with game 4 ALDS in 2008. So I was with my dad, and Jed Lowry hit a walk-off. I don't know if you guys remember Jed Lowry, but he walked off on the Angels at Fenway. And, you know, Papelbon was doing the dance to the Dropkick Murphy. And, you know, it was, yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, Fenway was rocking. That place was crazy. Yeah.
That's awesome. Who doesn't love a good walk-off win?
Period. I love it. All right. So moving on, Lovelies, let's dive right into our top 5 of the week. And this week, we're going to break down our top 5 off-season moves. So, Aidan, would you like to start us off with your number 5?
Yeah, my number 5 move of the offseason. It's probably 4 or 5, but I'm going to go Chris Getz getting Murakami from the White Sox. I think that's a nice move. It's got a lot of upside. You're getting his age 26 and age 27 season, and it allows Murakami to go back to the market if he's good in that time. So
love it. Melissa, how about you? What's your number 5?
This will be no surprise to you, Courtney. My number 5 would be James McCann getting signed by the Diamondbacks. I was very, very happy that he got picked up by somebody. I really wanted him. I think he got screwed last year. I'm glad that they decided to stick with him, and then he's getting some money because he definitely deserves it.
My number 5 is also, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Minataka Murakami to the White Sox. For me, it was completely unexpected. I think it's going to shake up the roster, hopefully give them some new edge. And hopefully, if he performs well, it's going to be the coming out moment that he needs to establish himself as a star player for Major League Baseball. All right, Aidan, what's your number 4?
Yeah, I like the Pirates trading for Mason Montgomery and Brandon Lau. I think that's a really nice deal. And I think you're telling Paul Skeens that you're at least going to make an attempt to make him relevant in October.
Definitely. Yeah. The Pirates have been pretty aggressive in the offseason. I don't think they've been as aggressive as they are ultimately going to be. I think there are still a couple moves that they're still going to make, but I love all of the moves that they've made thus far. What about you, Melissa? What's your number 4?
My number 4, again, this is for you too, Cedric Mullins to the Tampa Bay Rays. Again, somebody else who I really wanted to land somewhere and find a home, and I'm glad he found it in Tampa Bay so you can see him, and so I'll get to see him more in Camden Yards too.
Yes. For me, number 4 is going to be all the players that have been retained by their same teams. Schwarber back to the Phillies, McCann staying with the Diamondbacks, Michael King back to the Padres. I think these guys are all staples for their teams. I'm really happy to see that the fan bases are going to retain some familiarity because I feel like this is a huge transition season in terms of the number of free agents that are out there. And I'm excited that these fans get their guys back. So moving ahead to number 3, Aidan, what you got?
Yeah, I love the Jays going out and getting Cody Ponce from the KBO. I believe he set the K record over there, and I know that people think I think it's 3 years 30. They think that's a lot of money for a guy from another league, but the analytics are there with the pitches and things like that. He's added a kick change, and it was evident that the Blue Jays were lacking starting pitching in the postseason. So I think that's a really nice move to go out and get, you know, a durable guy who's big and he's added a couple pitches. So
nice. Melissa, what about you?
My number 3 is our boy Ryan O'Hearn getting picked up by Pittsburgh.
Nice.
Yes, very excited that he got a good deal and that I'm glad that he's going to be close to Baltimore. So at least I'll be able to drive and see him if I really wanted to.
Yes.
I miss him.
I'm hopefully going to be able to get up to PNC Park to actually see a game, but I'm
Sure.
gonna be all over spring training like white on rice. For me, number 3 is Dylan Cease to the Blue Jays. I thought that was a great move on their part. I don't think the Padres really appreciated what he brought. There were a lot of other good pitchers, but considering that Yu Darvish is out for 2026, I think San Diego really couldn't afford to lose him. But I think the change of scenery is going to revitalize everything that he brings to a team. I would have really loved to see him in Baltimore, but say la vie. All right, let's move on to number 2. Aidan, what's your number 2?
Yeah, it's an interesting one for me, but I do love the Orioles getting Pete Alonso. They needed a big free agent bat, and, Polar Bear Pete hits 35, 40 every year. He's healthy a lot, which is what people don't appreciate all the time. He plays every game,
Mm-hmm.
He's pretty good around the bag at first. I think he's capable of playing, first base for the next few years. So I like that move. I don't think this is Chris Davis 2.0.
All right.
Hopefully not. Melissa, what you got for number 2?
Alonso was also my number 2. I was
Okay.
very excited to hear that we were getting Pete Alonso because it was also proof that Rubenstein and Elias were backing up what they were saying, and they are going to actually spend some damn money this year and get us some good players. So when they announced Alonso, it was very exciting for me. I can't wait to go and see him this year.
I love it. This may come as a shock. My number 2 is Ryan O'Hearn to the Pirates.
So shocked.
First of all, I'm thrilled to have him back on the East Coast. I am also going to include Cedric Mullins to the Rays in my number 2 because they were both huge contributors that were moved at the deadline last year to completely separate clubs that I don't feel took enough advantage of their skill sets. I'm thrilled that Ryan O'Hearn got such a big contract. Me, that was my Christmas wish.
That was it. She got it.
That was my Christmas wish. I'm actually on the record as stating that as my Christmas wish.
I think it happened the next day too, didn't it? That was another one of those. It came the next day.
I went on another podcast and discussed this as my Christmas wish. And the very next day after that podcast aired is when the news broke that he was signing with Pittsburgh.
You made that happen.
I like to think I did. But yeah, Ryan O'Hearn to the Pirates and Cedric Mullins to the Rays. I get to see him a lot more often now, and I'm very excited about that. So that's my number 2. So we're at our number 1 picks. Aidan, what you got? What's your number 1 pick?
Yeah, I mean, I really do love that the Royals extended Maikel Garcia, actually.
Okay. Yeah.
Gold Glove third baseman. He can move over to second base. He can play short. He just has a lot of value, and the bat finally came around this year. So not necessarily an open market move, though it does prevent them from having to go out and get somebody, obviously. But it's a quite team-friendly deal, and he's only 26 years old. Fantastic deal for them. The
Royals, I believe, were the other team that I had heard rumors about Bader having conversations with. I do want to just stick that out there just for posterity.
I could see him going there.
All right, Melissa, what's your number 1?
My number 1 is definitely an Orioles move, and it is what my Christmas wish was, and it is Brian Helsley. We got our closer. Backfill for Bautista while he's out injured yet again. So I'm very excited about that we got a closer.
For sure. My number 1 is also an Orioles move. It's Pete Alonso. I am so excited to see what kind of energy he brings to the young core. I'm thrilled to see that we spent money on a big bat and a big name move to Baltimore rather than away from Baltimore. I think your point, Aidan, about how he's healthy most of the time is a huge thing, especially last year. We were riddled with injuries, every injury in the book, especially our catchers, for whatever reason, couldn't stay healthy. We brought up 6 catchers.
Yeah.
Which was crazy. So I think what kind of put this over the edge for me in terms of making it my number 1 pick was the absolute shock that it actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
I think that in terms of what the Orioles' normal offseason moves looks like, it's nice to have dreams. It's nice to have Christmas wishes. But this was the thing that you don't believe is real until you see it from MLB.
You just found out Santa's real. So
yeah. So Ryan Helsley is also a huge win for us. The news obviously, unfortunately, paled in comparison to the news that we got Pete. So Ryan and Pete from the Mets to the Orioles. I love it. I love the shape that the Orioles are going to be in for this season. And I think that they have so much potential. I know that everyone said that last year. My confidence is up to like an 11.
Yes. And you know what? He's going to be really good in the clubhouse too. I can tell he's going to fit in. Really
yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, Glovelies, what did you think of our top 5 picks? What is your favorite move that's been made this offseason? Let us know in the comments. All right, Glovelies, as always, before we wrap up, we are going to leave you with some recommended media for this week, brought to you by our very own No Regrets reader. Take it away, Melissa.
Well, since we are talking about free agencies and trade and all the things that are happening in the off season, this week, my recommendation is the Boston Blues series by Mollie Goins. So, like I said, speaking of free agency and trades, this series begins when Will Anderson and Adam Ryer, so the top pitcher and the top catcher of the Seattle team, they win the World Series, and then they get traded to Boston Blues, fictional team, of course. And so begins a 5-book series with a lovable cast of codependent characters in baseball hijinks. This series is projected to be a 5-book series. Only the first 3 books have been released. So the first book is called Picture Us. It begins when Will is shipped across the country with Adam to join the Boston Blues, and Adam's younger sister, Callie, tags along. Will and Callie have never interacted before, but now that Will and Adam are a package deal going to Boston, he finds himself sharing plane rides, apartment complexes, and eventually a co-worker relationship with Callie when she is hired as the team's photographer.
The co-workers.
Co-workers again. So anyways, Will tries to do the right thing and avoid his teammate's sister, because that's the rule, but he can't help himself as he and Callie gradually cross the boundary from the friend zone to Pound Town.
Okay, period. Well, I mean, not only do you have coworkers, then you also have like my friend's sister.
Yeah, you got the
double
teammate
trope.
Sister, you got coworkers, you've got they become really good friends because they live right next door to each other, so they're also got
forced proximity.
Forced proximity. So
this is like Trope City. I love it.
It is. It really is Trope City. As is book 2, which is called Coach Me. And that is about Will's sister, Lucy. She finds herself in a bind when she is let go from her job as a first grade teacher, only to be saved when she is hired by the Blues pitching coach, Dex. Like, you got an age gap coach situation. It's pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. Dex is recently divorced and he has primary custody of his 5-year-old son, Miles, who is adorable, by the way. Dex, he's overwhelmed juggling parenting and his job, and he desperately needs a nanny. So Dex and Lucy have this instant attraction, and because they meet randomly out in public. And Callie basically is the one who kind of tells Dex, hey, you should hire Lucy. She just got fired from her job. Hire her as the nanny. He ends up hiring her, but of course he's got feelings for her, and those feelings continue to grow the more they work together. And she also loves Miles too. And they try and do right by Miles by avoiding each other. But, that only works for so long when you have a forced proximity situation. So, and then eventually things happen and they get together, and it's so cute.
I love that.
So book 3, by the time this episode drops, it will have released. And that book 3 is called Stealing You. It comes out on January 16th. And that book is going to be about the first baseman, Beck, and Lucy's best friend, Jensen. So I can tell you, I don't know everything that's going to happen in this book, obviously, because I haven't read it yet. I do plan on reading it the day that it comes out because I love the series. But there has been a lot of tension between Beck and Jensen already in the first 2 books. And I love it when there is buildup in the tension between books, and then when you finally get to that book where it's about the couple that has the tension, it's such a great read. So I'm super excited about it.
It's like slow burn built into the other books, which is
really
cool.
Is.
Yeah.
Yes, especially in this, I can already tell it's going to be a reverse Grumpy versus Sunshine, which is when she's the bright one and he's the sunshine. And then book 4 and book 5, obviously not announced yet because, she's still working on book 3. But book 4 is actually going to be Adam's book, so he's the one who's the catcher. And then book 5 is going to be about the third baseman whose name is Trip. And there was a little bit of a hint about what's going to happen with him in book 2. So And his story, I believe, is actually going to be Coach's daughter. So,
Ooh.
yes. So,
Scandalo.
So, like I said, these were Picture Us and Coach Me were actually my first 2 reads of 2026. So they kicked my year off right. Love it when it started off on a high note. I gave them both 4 stars. I actually gave Coach Me 4.5 stars. Both really good. If you're looking for cute rom-coms, not a whole lot of angst. And there was about 3 chili peppers worth of spice in both of them. So, yeah, so it's spicy, but not too spicy. So again, Boston Blue series by Mollie Goins. Check it out.
Well, that's amazing. I love how that ties into free agency and the trades. So, Melissa, if our listeners want to make recommendations of their own or discuss these recommendations with you, where can they find you?
They can find me on Instagram and Facebook at no_regrets_reader. Hit me up. I'm getting more recommendations too. I got another one this week. So
Woo!
I know you give them to me. I'm going to review them at some point. So I'm super excited.
Stunning. I love it. All right, Glovelies. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of Glove Actually. I'd love to take a moment to shout out the amazing Aidan from the Painting Corners podcast for joining us today. Aidan, where can our listeners find you if they want to follow more of your content?
Yeah, thank you for having me. Painting-corners.com. You can find the pod on Spotify, YouTube, Apple. Yeah, we're pretty easy to find. So thank you for having me, and we'll have to have you guys on our pod soon.
Yes, we would absolutely love that. I'm so happy that we were finally able to do this. And hopefully it's going to be a good season for everybody. So Glovelies, once again, I would love to thank Aidan from Painting Corners podcast for joining us. And thank you so much for listening. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to the Glove Actually podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Podcasts, and YouTube. And be sure to turn on post notifications to stay in the loop when we post new episodes every Wednesday. All right, guys, before we wrap up, what are you guys looking forward to most this week in the world of baseball? Who do you hope has fun this week? Melissa?
Mine is not baseball related. This episode is going to drop on my husband's birthday. So I hope that he has fun this week.
Aww.
I know. As I mentioned, he's the number one reason why I'm into baseball right now and why I'm an Orioles fan. So, I hope you have a great birthday, handsome.
I love it. Aidan, who do you hope has fun this week?
Bo Bichette with his meeting with Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies, and he just had his wedding, so that could be why it looked like that free agency was on ice. So let's go, Bo.
Yeah, he's probably just been unavailable because he's been honeymooning. This week, I hope that all of our fan representatives from our upcoming divisional roundtable series have a good week. We are about halfway through. When this airs, we'll be about halfway through recording the episodes. And I'm so excited that we have so many new Glovelies that we get to collaborate with, and that every team is going to get some representation before the season starts. I'm over the moon excited about that. All right, this has been Glove Actually. I'm Courtney.
I'm Aidan.
And I'm Melissa.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Have a great week, Glovelies. And as always, be kind, keep it cute, and stay glovely.